Hello and welcome to Circle Time. It's spring break week, so we're doing a little bit shorter circle time. We're eliminating our calendar and weather time and going right to the letter of the day. Today's letter is J, and J is for jigsaw puzzles. Do you have jigsaw puzzles at home? Do you have puzzles with lots of pieces? This one is a Thomas the Tank Engine jigsaw puzzle, and look at all the pieces that I have to use to put this picture together. Well, we're going to use some pieces from my puzzle, and I have some old puzzles. Some of the pieces are missing, so I can use those to decorate my letter J. But if you don't want to glue your puzzle pieces, you can just use tape. Then later you can take them off and put them back into the box if you need to. So I'm just using some jigsaw puzzle pieces to decorate this letter. And what letter is this? It's the letter J. Now that we can recognize it and we can name it, let's practice writing it. To make a letter J, you have to make a fishing hook. I hope Fred didn't hear that. The letter J looks like a fishing hook. Let me show you. So make a line that goes down and curves around like a fishing hook, and then give it a top. That's how you make the big letter J. So we're going to go down and curve around, and we're going to give it a top. Down and curve around with the top. Down, curve around with the top. Down and curve around with the top. Like a fishing hook. Okay, well, let's see if we can do the little letter J. Remember we did yesterday I, and I had an itchy dot. Well, it must be catching because J has it too. So make a fishing hook. I think Fred's gonna see. A fishing hook. Sorry, Fred. Don't look at me that way. And then give it a dot. So make a fishing hook and then a dot. Let's practice making the little letter J. Okay, so we're going to start downstairs for little J. And then we're going to go all the way down into the basement. So we're going to start downstairs to the basement, curve around, and the dot is going to go upstairs. Down and curve around with a dot. Down and curve around with a dot. Down and curve around with a dot. That's the little letter J. I would love to cheer for you. Yay! I know you were listening and learning and working on your handwriting, so let me give you a sticker. That's for your handwriting paper. Well, now we know what letter J looks like. We know how to write it, so it's time to talk about the sound that J makes. Letter J makes the sound J, J, J. You try. J, J, J. Letter J makes the sound J, 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 as in jump. So we're going to play a little game to make that sound stick. I'm going to roll the dice, and we're going to see how many dots, and that's how many times we're going to jump. So here we go. All right, the number on top is 3. So let's make 3 jumps. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, let's roll again. Ooh, look at this number. That's number 6. So we're going to make 6 jumps. Are you ready to jump? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's roll again. How many jumps? Just 1. So let's make it one really big, tall jump. Here we go. 1. Ooh, you can really jump high. All right, let's roll once more. Ooh, what number is this? 5. How about we make them 5 fast jumps? Are you ready? We're going to jump 5 times really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Jay says j, 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 as in jump. Well, for art today, you can make a jigsaw puzzle. All you have to do is take a page from one of your coloring books. I have one right here. And you can cut the coloring book page, color it first, and then cut it into little squares. Just make straight cuts, like straight this way and straight this way. And a grown-up maybe can even help you do the cutting. And then you can put the puzzle together and you can glue it after you cut it and put it back together. You can glue it if you want to make a picture, or store the pieces in a Ziploc bag and you can continue to have a jigsaw puzzle that you made. Well, for science today, we're going to learn about some parts of our body because our story is going to be about George, Curious George. He's always curious, and he's going to actually put a puzzle piece in his mouth. We should never do that and swallow it. So he's going to have to go to the hospital and get an x-ray that shows inside his body. So let's learn some things about inside our body for science today. So this is a brain. The brain is the control center of your body. It tells the other parts of your body what to do. This is the heart. The heart pumps blood to all the parts of the body. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. These are the lungs. The lungs help us breathe. They inhale and exhale. This is a stomach. The stomach digests all the food that we eat. It mixes up all the food and then provides nutrients to all the parts of our body. These are the bones. The bones protect the organs inside our body. They help provide structure to our body and allow us to move. These are muscles. Muscles help our body move and work. They work together to give my body power and strength. Let's see if we can remember what we just learned. Here we go. All right, which body part helps our body move and stand up straight? Our bones. Good. Which body part helps us think and tells the rest of the body what to do? Our brain. Good job. Which body part helps us breathe? Our lungs. Which body part mixes up our food? Our stomach. Which body part pumps blood to the rest of our body? Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. The heart. Which body part helps us lift heavy things? Our muscles. Great work. Well, it's time for story time, and today's book is Curious George Goes to the Hospital. Curious George Goes to the Hospital. This is George. He lived with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. He was a good little monkey, but always curious. Today, George was curious about the big box on the man's desk. What could it be? George could not resist. He simply had to open it. It was full of funny little pieces of all sorts and shapes and colors. George took a piece out. It looked like candy. Maybe it was candy. Maybe he could eat it. George put the piece in his mouth, and before he knew it, he had swallowed it. A while later, the man with the yellow hat came home. "Why, George," he said, "I see you've already opened the box with the jigsaw puzzle. It was supposed to be a surprise for you. Well, let's go ahead and work on it." Finally, the puzzle was finished. Well, almost finished. One piece was missing. The man and George looked everywhere. They couldn't find the puzzle piece. "Oh, well, it's time to go to bed. Maybe we'll find it in the morning." But the next morning, George was not feeling well. He had a tummy ache, and he didn't want to eat his breakfast. The man was worried. He called the doctor. "I'll be right over," said the doctor. Dr. Baker looked down George's throat and felt his tummy. He took out a stethoscope and listened to George's heart and lungs. You're going to have to take George to the hospital to have an x-ray picture taken. I'll call them and let them know you're coming," said Dr. Baker. "Don't worry, George," said the man when they were driving to the hospital. "You've been there before when you broke your leg. Remember how nice the doctors and nurses were?" George held his big rubber ball tight as they walked up the hospital steps. George got to get on a big table. The doctor said he was going to take a picture of George's insides. He pushed a button. There was a funny noise. "There, all done. You can get up now." When the x-ray picture was ready, they looked at it and the doctor said, "Yes, there is something that should not be." "Why, that looks like our jigsaw puzzle piece," said the man with the yellow hat. "Well, well, well," said the doctor. "At least we know now what's wrong with our little patient. We'll have to get that puzzle piece out." George had to wait in a waiting room until his turn. There were other children there, too. Finally, a nurse took him back. She was very nice. They even gave George a special bracelet. "It has your name on it, George," said the nurse. George got to be in a big room with lots of other children. He saw one little girl. Her name was Betsy. She wasn't smiling or happy at all. The man with the yellow hat said goodbye to George, and George was taken into a room with bright lights. George was feeling sleepy. The next thing he knew, the nurse and the man with the yellow hat were standing by him. "It's all over, George. We got the puzzle piece out." George was so happy, he even got to eat ice cream. Later, he got to play with toys. He put on a puppet show. All the children laughed and shouted. He got to watch television, and then he saw something that made him curious. He climbed on top. It went around and around and around. George lost his balance and was sailing through the air, but luckily landed on a pillow. Then George saw something that he was curious about. It was a chair with wheels. George wanted to climb on. Whee! The chair with wheels started to roll. By now the nurse noticed. "George, George," she shouted, running after him. George was too excited to listen. He wheeled around the corner, down the ramp to the floor below. There were some men pushing lunch carts. Crash! Oh no! Spinach and scrambled eggs and strawberry jam were all over the floor. George was thrown out of the wheelchair and into the mayor's arms. He was taking a tour of the hospital. "What a mess! You broke my dishes," someone cried. "You ruined the wheelchair," complained another. "What will the mayor think?" whispered someone else. Suddenly, everyone looked up and listened. From up above came happy laughter, and there stood Betsy, laughing and laughing and laughing. Then the children joined in, the mayor, and everyone was soon laughing, everyone except George. Betsy came running down the ramp, threw her arms around George, and kissed him. "Don't be sad, George. The whole thing was so funny. I've never laughed so much in my life. I'm so glad you were here at the hospital with me." The director of the hospital spoke. "George, don't worry about the mess. We can clean that up. You've made a lot of children very happy today. Thank you, George." The children crowded around the windows, waving goodbye, and when George and the man with the yellow hat finally left the hospital, a nurse came running after them. She had a little package. "Don't open it until you get home," she told him. George was curious. The moment he reached home, he ripped the paper off, tore open the box, and there was the piece of the puzzle that had caused all the trouble. "How nice of the doctor to save it for us," said the man with the yellow hat. "And now we can finish our puzzle." The end. So George had to go get the puzzle piece taken out. He shouldn't have put it in his mouth. We won't put our puzzle pieces in our mouths. But we can have fun today putting them together. J is for Jigsaw Puzzle. I hope you had some fun this week, and I hope you'll join me next week for Circle Time. Goodbye. Have a great weekend.